And I had never heard of our next guest. In fact, very few people had ever heard of Mr. and Mrs. Salvador Bona. But now, all of a sudden, they have 5 big hits, records in the top 50.
The next 2 stars of the 20th century.
So here they are right now with this week's Shindig Pick of the Week entitled I've Got You, Babe. Sonny and Cher!
They say we're young and we don't know. We won't find out till we grow. Well, I don't know if all that's true, 'cause you got me, and baby, I got you.
I remember the first time Son ever played me I Got You, Babe. It was in the middle of the night, and I said, you know, I don't think I like it very much. I don't think it's your best work. I'm going to bed.
They say our love won't pay the rent. For it turns our money's all it's spent.
I told Sonny one day, I want you to write a song and I want there to be a modulation in it. I don't care what the song is, I just want to modulate. And so, in the middle of this night, he woke me up and he said, I've got it.
And when I'm sad, you're around. And if I get scared, you're always around. So let them say your hair's blonde. I don't care with you, I stand.
And I wasn't very crazy about the song, but I did love the modulation. So he said, I've written it for you. And that was basically how I Got You, Babe got started.
I got you, babe.
When I was little, I wanted to be famous. I went to see Dumbo when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I wanted to be in animated films. Then I found out later that you can't be in animated films, and so I thought I would just be famous. When I was 11, I started practicing my autograph. I had the same autograph that I have now. If I hadn't met Son, I always thought I would have been a bank robber. I had like raw energy, but I didn't have any direction. You know, when I met Son, he had been trying to be in show business for 10 years. I was 16, he was 28, and I really didn't know what I was doing. What I remember is this piano. One day he called me and he said, Cher, I've got this fabulous thing, a big surprise, I'm bringing it home. So of course I was thinking it was something for me. And what he did bring home was this old, scratchy, ugly piano. And he said, no, Cher, you don't understand, it's a great deal. I only paid $85 for it and it only has 3 broken keys. Well, he sat there, and over the next months, he wrote, Baby Don't Go, Just You, and I Got You, Babe. And I never saw him so happy as when he was sitting at this piano.
Baby, don't go.
He was the worst piano player in the universe. He played like this, and he only knew 3 chords. And so he would play with 1 finger, and then he would make his chords with that hand. And he knew his artistry wasn't fabulous, but his personality was so great. So it was a combination of artistry, personality, and ambition, and the 3 kind of went together hand in hand.
When we got together, we sort of generated each other. She was my inspiration, and it was just something that worked, you know, something that was right. And we pursued the music business, and here we are, knock on wood.
I'll never forget the first time I saw Son. It was at a restaurant called Aldo's. You know, like in West Side Story, when Tony and Maria meet, it was like that. Everybody kind of went into soft focus, and there was Sonny, and he just looked, I don't know, it's like you meet people but nothing really happens, but when I saw him, something happened. And so he and I kind of became, not friends, I annoyed him. And then I got kicked out of my apartment because there were too many girls living in it. And he said, you know what, I don't find you particularly attractive, but you could come and live in my house. And he and I stayed in the same room and slept in twin beds. And so we got along really well, and he was so different. I never met anyone like him. And one day, we just realized that we'd fallen in love.
Big brown eyes, he came my way. I didn't know then what he had to say. I could tell that he felt bad by the way he looked, that he was sad, oh yeah.
Well, my family didn't know about Sonny. I told them I was living with a stewardess. And so when they actually did find out about him, they weren't really happy. But my mother's therapist said, if you try to, tear her away from him, it'll just become more, and if you just let it go, it'll just be a whim and she'll get over it. In spite of herself, she really did like him, and in later years, they got really close. This is the first present, actually, that Sonny ever gave me, and it was a ring that had emerald crystals. And I thought it was the crown jewels. I thought it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And I actually never took it off. I put it on, and after that, I really didn't take it off. When I met Son, he was working at a record distributor, and he landed Phil Spector as a client for the company. And Philip was huge at that time. I mean, Philip was like the wonder boy. So one day, Son called and he said, I'm leaving the office. I'm going to come by and honk, lean out the window. So I went to the window and I saw Son, and instead of being in his Monza, he was in a car just like this Cadillac here, and he was sitting there, he had his arm sticking out of the driver's side, and he looked up at me and he went, "Hey, Cher," like that. And he was so thrilled, and I knew that this was more than a car for him. This was a symbol that his luck was starting to change. So Son went from promoting records for Phil Spector to becoming his right-hand man. He loved the business so much, and he wanted to learn everything that he could learn about producing from Philip. In a short time, he went from getting coffee to playing percussion to singing backup. The first time I was ever in a studio, it was at Gold Star, Studio A, and I was 16 years old. I was waiting with Son. Phil Spector was a producer, and one of the girls got a flat tire, and so Philip said, Sonny says you can sing, just get in there. And I was terrified. I mean, I was absolutely terrified. I was trying to qualify, like, what I thought my singing potential was, and he said, look, I just need some noise, just get in there. We sang background for a year, and then Son decided that we should just go out on our own and sing.
Until I met her, it sounds very corny, but something came together when we came together.
And what was it that he gave you?
He said, you can sing. You can sing. And I got up and sang. Sonny had this cute little Caesar-style haircut, and he thought that I looked like Cleopatra, so we started singing as Caesar and Cleo. We played bowling alleys and roller skating rinks, but Caesar and Cleo were short-lived because once we went to a gig in Oakland, and on the way there, the airlines lost our luggage, and so we decided to go on in our street clothes. Sonny wore his bobcat, I wore my bell-bottoms, and the kids went crazy. And that night, I guess, was the night we decided to be ourselves, Sonny and Cher. In the beginning, we made our own clothes. I would draw up the design, and then I'd buy the material, and then these two girls who lived in our basement would sew them up for us. I actually had the idea for this design in a dream. And then one day, Son and I were driving down the street, and I saw this fur blowing in the wind. And I said, Son, back up. And this bobcat vest became his signature look.
The way we dress, they like the fact that we wear colorful clothes, and we do too. That's us, and that was really us.
Clothes definitely helped us get noticed. When we went to London for the first time, I wore my very best creation, a salute to the Union Jack, I call this outfit. But unfortunately, it got us kicked out of the London Hilton. Well, not exactly kicked out, they just refused to let us in. But we got a huge amount of publicity out of it. We made headlines, and our record went to #1. in our daily life, we started dressing in this very eclectic way. But you also have to realize that nobody dressed like that. I mean, the Beatles were in the little hairdos and little round colored jackets, and everyone was very neat. It was, Doris Day was, you know, still kind of a big influence, you know.
Sonny and Cher are singers, but here's something you won't often see. Watch them dance. One of the main attractions of this team is the clothes they wear. Their dress is distinctively unique and exclusively designed. But I've seen them at very elegant affairs. And did they stand out from the crowd?
We looked so different, and sometimes people just had the strangest reactions to us. We used to go to this restaurant called Martoni's, and it was the big kind of record hangout. So this huge guy wanted to get in this fight with Sonny this one night, and even though Mario and Tony were our friends, they asked us to leave and not to come back. And it was really awful. I mean, it really hurt both of us. And Sonny went home and wrote this song called Laugh at Me. And he recorded it the next day, and the next day it was on the air. I got you, babe. Baby, don't go. Just you. All I really want to do is laugh at me. It doesn't happen very often, but we had 5 songs in the top 20 at the same time. The only other artists to do that were Elvis and the Beatles. We even knocked the Beatles out of first place. But Sonny knew that we couldn't stay up there forever, so he had this idea to do a movie like A Hard Day's Night. And that movie turned out to be Good Times.
They say we're young and we don't.
Good Times was a spoof on all the old Hollywood movies like Tarzan and Maltese Falcon and High Noon. I wasn't very good at it, but Son was terrific.
Sure, I got it. I'm king of the jungle.
Boy, are you clumsy. That's the 4th time today.
So I lost my balance. The name's Pizzicato. Johnny Pizzicato, Private Eye. Who let you in, mister?
I came here to warn you, but one of the Ruthians killers followed me. You'll be here any second. What do you think?
I think you ought to knock next time you come through that door.
And it took such a long time to come out that when it came out, we were no longer popular, so nobody went to see it.
Dance and sing and raise your glass. Drink to the good times and hold my friend that day.
Unfortunately, the good times didn't last, and then things got worse. So now we owe the IRS $250,000, and we hit the road.
The beat goes on. The beat goes on.
We were going to play all these horrible places. I didn't know, thank God, that we were going to play all these horrible places, but I soon found out. And Sonny kept saying to me, you know, just give me two years, and I promise you we'll be back on top. He was very optimistic, and he had a lot of energy in that way, and I guess, and believing in us. You know, he had a great belief in Sonny and Cher.